What if the most dangerous person in the room is the one who smiles the most? Someone polite? Someone confident? Someone you would never, ever fear. Most monsters show you who they are through aggression. But the most terrifying ones are those who learn how to pretend. This isn't just a story. This is the real-life case of Ted Bundy, the man who proved that pure evil can dress itself in charm, intelligence, and a disarming smile. Ted Bundy was born in 1946, and his life began with a lie. He grew up believing his mother was his sister and his grandparents were his real parents. He was raised in a home where appearances mattered more than honesty, where real emotions were either denied or completely ignored. Secrets became his normal. This early deception planted a seed inside Ted, the belief that truth is optional and that manipulation is a powerful tool. Even as a child, he struggled to connect with others on an emotional level. He would watch other kids play together, laughing and crying, while he stood on the outside, studying them like an outsider observing a completely different species. When another child fell and got hurt, he didn't feel empathy. He felt a cold curiosity. It was then that Bundy discovered something powerful. If he simply copied the emotions he saw in others, even if he didn't feel them himself, people accepted him. He became a masterful observer, a mimic, an imitator. To his friends, he acted charming. To his teachers, he acted intelligent. To complete strangers, he acted harmless. But these weren't expressions of his true personality. They were masks he could switch on and off at will. When Bundy went to college, he chose to study psychology. But he wasn't trying to understand himself, he was trying to understand others. He learned how to read micro-expressions, how to build instant rapport, how to appear completely trustworthy even while he was telling a lie. He became fluent in the unspoken language of manipulation. Bundy realized something that most of us never do. People don't often look for the truth. They look at the surface. A confident smile. Direct eye contact. A steady voice. People instinctively trust the illusion of safety, and Bundy found that he could reinvent himself whenever he wanted. He could be the caring boyfriend who made romantic gestures. He could be the ambitious law student with a bright future. He could even be the charismatic volunteer at a crisis hotline, helping others in their darkest moments. Think about that for a second. A serial killer was literally giving people advice on how to stay safe. During those years, he perfected his greatest weapon, earning trust. And he also came to terms with his greatest void. He felt nothing. No empathy. No guilt. No fear. To him, people weren't human beings. They were objects, opportunities, pieces in a game only he was playing. By the mid-1970s, a terrifying pattern began to emerge. Young women started disappearing from college campuses across multiple U.S. states. Different cities, different universities, different victims. But a chilling connection began to surface. Each victim was young, kind, and trusting. Witnesses who saw them last described a man with a soft voice, polite manners, and sometimes a fake cast on his arm, pretending to be injured. He would ask for help carrying books or loading items into his Volkswagen Beetle. He even introduced himself by his real name, Ted. He didn't use intimidation. He didn't threaten or rush. He patiently waited for his target to trust him, and once he had it, he controlled everything. Bundy used psychological power instead of just brute physical strength. He convinced women to follow him willingly into the dark. He didn't need to overpower them because they trusted him. He had mastered the art of appearing safe. While families desperately searched for their missing daughters, Bundy continued to live a perfectly normal life. He stayed active in politics, volunteered in his community, and dated openly. To the outside world, he was a man with a bright future. People who knew him described him as charismatic, intelligent, and kind. He was the absolute last person anyone would ever suspect. In fact, one of Bundy's own girlfriends went to the police to report him as a possible suspect, but they dismissed her concerns. They told her he was too intelligent and too well-spoken to be a dangerous criminal. Bundy knew that society's stereotypes were his best shield. We believe monsters look violent or strange. Bundy looked like a promising politician. Even as his name appeared on investigation lists in multiple states, he continued to blend in perfectly. He even participated in search parties, looking for the very victims he had taken. He pretended to be part of the solution, while being the cause of all the pain. Eventually, the police found enough evidence to arrest him not for the disappearances, but for a simple traffic violation. Inside his car, they found a disturbing collection of items: rope, masks, gloves, and tools. Bundy was finally jailed. But this is where his manipulation reached a whole new level. Inside prison, he studied law obsessively. He managed to convince a judge to allow him to act as his own attorney. Because of this, he was granted privileges no other prisoner had. He could walk around the courthouse without wearing handcuffs. Bundy wasn't looking for justice. He was looking for an opportunity, and he found one. During a court recess, he walked into a law library, completely unrestrained. He looked around, climbed onto a bookshelf, opened a window, and jumped. He vanished. The news media went wild. Reporters called him a genius. Some even called him brilliant. Women wrote him letters of support. Some even showed up at the courthouse just to get a glimpse of him. And Bundy loved the attention. He was no longer hiding from society. He was performing for it. He was eventually caught again. But just months later, he escaped a second time, this time crawling through a hole he had secretly carved in the ceiling of his jail cell. He had starved himself for weeks to become thin enough to fit through the opening. Every escape fed his massive ego, and every escape cost more innocent lives. Finally, federal investigators and multiple police departments joined forces, comparing patterns, witness reports, and forensic evidence. The net was closing in, and Bundy's charm began to crack. He was arrested for the final time in Florida. This time, his charm didn't work. During his trial, Bundy acted as if he were the star of his own documentary. He cross-examined witnesses. He smiled for the cameras. He flirted with female reporters. He didn't care about justice. He cared about the spotlight. Bundy wasn't fighting for his freedom. He was putting on his final performance. When the judge finally delivered the sentence, he said something that still chills people to this day. He looked at Bundy and said, "Take care of yourself, young man. I have no animosity toward you." Bundy just smiled. That single moment revealed a deeply disturbing truth. Even highly trained professionals can be completely manipulated by surface-level charm. During his final days on death row, Bundy finally confessed to his horrific crimes. But it wasn't because he felt any remorse. It was because confessing gave him one last ounce of power. He wanted to control the narrative until the very last second. He believed the world would remember him forever. And in a way, it has, but not for the reason he wanted. On January 24th, 1989, Ted Bundy walked into the execution chamber. Outside, a huge crowd of people celebrated, chanting and holding signs that said, "Burn, Bundy, burn." For the first time in his entire life, Bundy couldn't manipulate anyone. He couldn't run. He couldn't charm his way out. He was forced to face the one thing he could not escape: the truth. Ted Bundy is remembered today not for his intelligence, or his escapes, or even the sheer number of his crimes. He is remembered because he exposed one of the most terrifying realities about human behavior. Evil doesn't always look dangerous. Sometimes it looks polite. Sometimes it looks handsome. And sometimes it looks exactly like someone you'd trust with your life. Trust is a powerful and beautiful thing, but blind trust can be fatal. Thanks for watching. If this story made you think, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. Stay safe out there.